What's up, YouTube? My name is Eric, and in this video here, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about marijuana, weed. Yes, I have it in my hand. I don't even like the way it smells. What are my thoughts on this? I'm going to tell you all about it. Click the like and subscribe button. Love to have you along for the journey. It's all about mental health, mental illness, suicide awareness, making sure that nobody goes through life alone, even sobriety. And yes, I'm talking about weed. What's up, YouTube? My name is Eric, and in this video, I want to talk to you about my thoughts on weed. And these, again, are my thoughts. My thoughts on this right here, the mean green, the stink, the whatever. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, you can see like little fuzzes and stuff like that. Has a teeny smell to it. You know what? I don't smoke weed. This isn't even my weed. I'm using it from a friend for a video. And you know why they can trust me with it? Because I don't smoke it. I get absolutely no joy out of smoking weed. Weed does zero for me. In fact, when I do smoke it, my experience is this. I get paranoid, I get really tired, and I eat a lot. I mean, I eat a lot. A lot of food. Taco Bell. Del Taco. I don't like the feeling. I don't like the feeling of being out of control, and I don't like the feeling of just feeling like I almost let myself down in a way of smoking it. Now, are there a lot of benefits to weed? There are a ton of benefits to weed. There's benefits from the CBD, and you know what? I'd rather somebody almost smoke weed than this. And a lot of people I know do smoke weed for anxiety, and this is a benzo. This is Xanax. Xanax has a lot more side effects than what weed does. Now, of course, it all depends, and you can get down into all opinion if the weed's laced with anything. Because, I mean, even weed has been laced with fentanyl. That's why I am very pro of actually legalizing weed, but it also has to be respected. Weed, to me, I look at it as like alcohol. And I'm an alcoholic. My name is Eric. I'm an alcoholic. Alcohol I can't use like anybody else. My problem isn't the 20th beer. It's not even the 5th beer. It's the first beer. And weed can be the same for a lot of other people too. I do know people that are addicted to this, that need to have weed, that need to smoke this, and I don't understand why, but I do understand why in a sense. Because there are some addictive personalities to it. There is that habit acquired, just similar to even smoking, though, without the nicotine, but you get very acquired to smoking, you get acquired to the feeling, and you can become addicted to that. So I do heavily believe in weed addiction. I know that it can also transpire into other drugs, but I also know a lot of individuals that will use it that are actually, depending on the state that you're in, are prescribed different medical cards because it does help with cancer, it does the pain management, it does help with appetite, it does help with eating, it does help with anxiety. I mean, there are a lot of benefits to it, and it's not necessarily is it a drug-induced like it is with a Xanax, where the effects of them are completely different, and I can really get into the science of it, but I wanted to keep this really in layman's terms just for anybody out there who is just kind of struggling, who goes, man, I'm smoking weed, and you know, maybe I should just like stop it, but it helps me with my anxiety, you know, what do other people think? And I want to just share my opinions, and again, they're my opinions and only my opinions. I would rather see somebody smoke weed than take Xanax. If it helps you with your anxiety and you can function as a human being, and I believe that's what it comes down to, is functioning as a human being, not being homeless, you know, underneath an overpass, shoving needles and shit in your arm and robbing banks. Does it incapacitate you? Yeah, I don't believe you should drive when you're smoking weed. It's the same kind of effects as alcohol. Your reaction times are slower, so you do put lives at risk. So there are all these pluses and minuses, and you get into this huge debate of, you know, should they legalize weed, should they not? For multiple reasons, I feel that they should legalize weed in every single state because there are those benefits to it. And you know what? Well, I'd rather see the tax money to that go to, you know, mental health, mental illness, suicide awareness, maybe even addiction counseling. Who knows? Again, those comes down to the benefits. And there's different ways that you can ingest weed. I mean, there are the edibles, or they cook it and they make it into different food. There's waxes out there. So they've come up with a lot of different creative ways that you can smoke it. I mean, personally, I think if you're smoking wax, I mean, between shattered and crumbled and all of this, I'm not a real big fan of that because it reminds me a lot more of actually the hardcore drugs, and I think it can actually maybe lead you more into hardcore drugs because I do believe in the placebo effect when it comes to addiction, and that's similar to me like with non-alcoholic beer. I can't drink non-alcoholic beer like O'Doul's or anything of that sort because it gives me a placebo effect, and then it also makes me think that, hey, I can have one. Where with weed, it's the same thing. But I do know people also that have smoked weed to help them get off of heroin. I've heard so many different stories of individuals who use weed for so many different reasons that you got to acknowledge that there are benefits to it. And it comes down to putting our own personal opinions versus what the true statistics are of, is this something beneficial or not? I mean, when it comes to opiates, I mean, there's a huge opiate epidemic, but there are people that need it for pain management that are in chronic pain. And when you are in chronic pain, that can affect your mental health. So if you're in chronic pain and you're smoking weed to numb that pain and to get that appetite back up, and it keeps you from going into depression to the point that you don't want to live anymore, you know what? That to me is a huge benefit. And it's something that anyone can benefit from if they're going through it. Again, it's trial and error. I'm not saying go out and get an ounce of weed and just start smoking weed and saying, hey, I saw some dude on YouTube. He claims to be a mental health advocate and he's telling me to go smoke weed. By no means is that the shit that I'm saying. What I'm saying is this, that it's trial and error for everyone. I can tell you personal experience, if I could smoke weed, function as a human being, not have this massive appetite and just want to sleep and be lazy, and I could function, I would smoke weed over taking a Xanax. I would. Because to me, there's not those effects. I am a recovering addict from alcohol and cocaine, so I know that there are many people that have been addicted to benzos. I know that the withdrawal from benzos is tremendous. It is a battle to get sober from them, and I know that it's taken the lives of a lot of people, especially if you mix benzos and alcohol together, because of what it does with our heartbeat and with our central nervous system. When it comes to weed, it doesn't really affect your central nervous system. It's not something that you get an addiction to, that the withdrawals are like pause, where you have these post-acute withdrawal symptoms where you're puking, you're vomiting, you're shitting your pants. I mean, you don't go through massive withdrawals like that. It's more of a mental withdrawal that you're going to go through if you are addicted to it. To me, it's a lot like alcohol. If it's used and it's used responsibly and it helps you function as a human being and it helps you provide for your family and be productive in society, which there are a lot of people that are, and it allows them to make it out that front door, then I'm all for it, because I'm all for tools, because we're all different. You know, this journey of life is different for all of us. We all have the same destination, just how we get there is different. And it's not our place to judge anyone. And even when it comes down to addiction, it's not my place to judge anyone that's even an addict. They have to want it themselves to actually get sober, to get sober. It's not something that can be forced onto somebody. I can say this though, if you're smoking weed and you're functioning and you're working and you're not smoking during business hours, you're kind of like a responsible drinker who's not an alcoholic per se. If you don't smoke it every day, if you smoke it to relax, whatever it might be, if it's preventing you from going on to hardcore drugs or helping you get off hardcore drugs, all the props to you. I mean, it's a lot better than what meth is. I mean, meth is something that's cooked up. Essentially, you could cook it up in your bathtub. And you're using chemicals in it that are extremely flammable, that are extremely deadly, versus weed that's actually, it is a natural, and don't even get me started on the hemp benefits of clothing, paper, everything else, that would really actually benefit life, because it is a succulent plant that can survive in a lot more climates than what trees and all this can, and it can rapidly reproduce. Again, my thoughts on weed, if you use it, you use it. You know, just be careful of how much you get into using it, what types you start using, and especially even where you buy it from, because if you are buying it off the street, people do lace weed just like they do other drugs for various reasons. And let's face it, the most dangerous drug out there right now is fentanyl, because nobody's a chemist that's cutting this stuff correctly at all. It's something that definitely needs to be overwatched by a doctor, that comes in a patch form. Typically is how somebody's going to be using fentanyl, and you can die from it. So be very careful, and you have to be open-minded. If you are using anything from the street, you got to realize that that's why addicts say it's one day at a time, and it's just for today, because if you do relapse, especially, you can die. That relapse can equal death, just that one time, because of what's out there. If you use weed to help self-medicate, or you use it with even a doctor's help of medicating, and it does keep you productive, and you're not out there abusing any of the other medications out there, more power to you. Again, I'm very open about it. I would use and smoke weed if I could, but it doesn't give me that desired effect. And then you get into these connoisseurs of indica and sativa. Don't even want to go down those discussions of all the different types and what they do. I just want to say this, that if weed keeps you from taking benzos, cool. If weed allows you to make it out the front door and you're not hurting anybody, cool. If you can stop, cool. If it helps you make it through the day, that's all we can ask for. I would rather somebody, again, make it out that front door than sitting trapped in their own mind, afraid and scared and feeling alone, and then the depression sits, and then the loneliness sets in. And then, you know what? it goes down a path that you don't want to go. These are only my opinions on marijuana. I do want to do some videos more on the scientific studies of weed and more into the chemistry of weed and how it affects your brain and how THC is versus CBD. Because a lot of times people will say, oh, if you're on CBD, you're getting high, and they don't realize that there is no high effect from CBD. But again, there's also even healing and medical benefits from CBD. This channel is all about, mental health, mental illness, sobriety, suicide awareness, making sure that nobody goes through life alone. Chrissy, Sam, Emily, Life, I appreciate you. Trista, I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who's a patron member of mine. The link is down below if you want to be a patron member. It helps with our mental health Discord, which again, the links are down below. I have the links down below to all of my social media. And it's a whole community of people helping people, peer-to-peer support, and just nobody going through life alone. So just remember that. Remember, if you're out there struggling, that it is okay. And if you are out there and you're struggling with addiction, there are great programs out there such as NA and AA, Al-Anon if you have a family member struggling with addiction. Because again, it's a we thing, it's a us thing. Nobody goes through it alone, and you got this. So click the like and subscribe button if you haven't. Love to have you along for the journey.